Amazing parents, hey, I have a question for you. If your child is rolling over or just, somewhere along the stage of just learning to roll over, I see this a lot from clients that come into my office. My own daughter did this too. So does your child do this when they roll over? So they use their arm and they fling it to gain momentum to roll over, and then all of their other little body bits and parts follow the momentum of their flinging of their arm. And it can look like reverse too. So if your child's on their side or on their stomach, they'll fling their arm back, and then everything kind of follows. And they're using a lot of muscular effort in their chest. So often it looks like really, I can feel it with my hands when they come into my office. Their chest area and their head and their shoulders and arms are all kind of work as one unit. And they use this kind of section of their body as one unit as their power center. So they muscle their way through things like rolling over, reaching for something. They reach with like this whole section at once instead of having the ability to move these parts independently. Now, what that means is, first of all, they have a really smart brain. There's these kind of movement gaps in their brain where they don't realize that they have a pelvis that's connected to the spine, that's connected to all of these wonderful body parts, these wonderful bones that can move independently of one another. And they're just missing that experience of exploring how those different body parts work. So they're missing these kind of gaps in their brain, and they've compensated. Their brains are so smart that they compensate by using extra muscle effort to do a movement, to move them forward. So they're kind of using their arm to fling themselves over. The power of this chest muscle, these muscles here, the core muscles, as one unit, which is functional to a certain point. Using a lot of muscle effort, moving as one unit, one chunk of unit is functional up to a point. Good movement is dynamic. Good movement is reversible. Good movement gives us options. So if your child gets into a pattern of flinging themselves to roll over, that's going to limit their options in other movements too. So if they don't know that their shoulder blade can slide across their ribs, the back of the ribs, if they don't know each individual vertebrae can move separate from the other, if they don't know their pelvis can roll like a ball, if they don't know all of these different body parts are connected and how to coordinate them, it's going to limit their options. So they'll only be able to roll over in one way, or they'll only be able to roll over in perfect scenarios. So if there's an object in the way or a pillow or a blanket, often they can't get enough momentum with their arm. You can't kind of muscle your way through certain situations. You need a brain that's able to coordinate for different options, for different experiences, if that makes sense. Hopefully that's making sense. And these building blocks, these basic building blocks of learning to have head control in different positions and learning to roll over are the basic foundational movements that set up our kids for learning how to come up into sitting, independent sitting, for come up into crawling, for come up into standing, for walking. This was true for my daughter. So she did learn to kind of fling herself over, and she learned to sit very, very stiff like this, or she would fall over. So her brain didn't know that she had all of these parts to move dynamically and independent of each other. Her brain couldn't coordinate all of those pieces. So she was very, very stiff like this, very locked in, especially in this upper chest area. And all of her movements started from this chest area. So she would move around kind of like this. When she did learn to walk, it limited her options in walking even. So, trying to walk with a very stiff chest is really hard to walk upstairs. It's really hard to walk over curbs. It's really hard to maintain your balance if you fall over and you have a really stiff chest. She fell like a tree. She like timber crash. She didn't know how to collapse in on herself and fall safely because her brain didn't know that she had all of these body parts to help her. Her brain didn't know how to coordinate all of these body parts. It knew one thing. It didn't know all of these beautiful things. For the next couple of weeks inside the mindful movement program, we're going to be slowing things down and starting at the beginning of rolling, gentle movements that lay the foundation for your child to have lots of options in their movements to help them roll over, for your child's brain to gather up this really important information about themselves. How do their own bodies move through space and gravity, and how can they use their own body parts and coordinate these parts for better rolling over? Connect further with your kids and connect your kids further to themselves. So super simple things that you can do at home. So that is what we're talking about, rolling over for the next couple of weeks inside the Mindful Movement program. I pop into that. That's the paid program that I have with all of the guided videos in it. And we have our separate Facebook group. So I will be popping into that Facebook group with some more tips and tricks about rolling over, how to lay those foundational movements of helping your child to learn to roll over basically, and using their full body and better coordination. See you, bye.